Hello, guys. Um, I want you to take some time and listen to this audio that I'm gonna post, and afterwards, let's talk.
Okay, so today's deep dive takes us into a fictional world. We're looking at the pages of Out of the Frying Pan by Monica Lorato.
That's right.
Now, this is a work of imagination, totally fiction, but within the story, there's some really stark, pretty unsettling scenarios that we really need to unpack.
Absolutely. Our source today is the first edition of that novel. It came out February 2022, and it's really crucial to keep reminding ourselves as we get into this that it is presented as fiction.
Right.
No intended connection to real events, real people, anything like that.
Good reminder. So our mission, what we're trying to do here for you today, is really get into those first few chapters. We're going to focus on the main character, Leandra, and the incredibly intense challenges and the huge decisions she faces right from the very beginning.
Yeah, we'll be tracing some really key moments for her, like the sudden realization she's pregnant,
Right.
the tough circumstances she's living under in this group home, the predatory behavior she runs into, a deeply personal choice she's grappling with, and then this unexpected job opportunity that, well, it turns out to be pretty disturbing itself.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The book opens, bam, we're in Leandra's world. She wakes up, reality hits her like a ton of bricks. She's pregnant, and it's Damon Rogers' baby.
Right. And the narrative quickly paints this picture of her life. She's been in this group home for, 10 months?
Since aging out.
And she's only allowed to stay there if she does basically all the housework.
You mean cooking, cleaning?
Cooking, cleaning, laundry, you name it. And on top of that, she's trying to build some kind of future. She's going to night school for accounting.
Wow.
And freelancing as a virtual assistant. It immediately shows you how precarious everything is for her.
And the real driver for her, the reason she puts up with all this, is her younger sister, Josephine. She's only 13. Leandra is just fiercely determined to keep them together.
Yeah, and she knows the system. They won't let her just walk out with Josephine unless she can prove she's got a stable home.
So the group home, as bad as it is, feels like the only option right now.
It's a necessary evil in her mind, yeah. A stepping stone. But then you find out how the pregnancy happened, and it's deeply troubling.
Tell us about that.
Well, the book reveals it wasn't, consensual in any real sense. It was a series of unwanted sexual encounters with this Damon Roger over the last 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And it just throws this spotlight on how vulnerable people can be in these systems, how easily power gets exploited.
And this Damon guy, his father, is influential.
Right. His dad has pull at CPS, Child Protective Services, and he's apparently using the group home to, exploit the residents. It points to a potential systemic issue, this abuse of power.
And it gets even darker, doesn't it? Didn't Damon threaten her sister?
He did. The book lays it out clearly. He used a direct threat against Josephine to basically force Leandra's compliance.
Oh, God.
He preyed on her biggest fear, losing her sister. It was desperate.
And Leandra wasn't just passive. She tried to protect herself.
She did. The text explicitly says she asked Damon to use condoms, a perfectly reasonable request.
Which he ignored.
Completely ignored, just blatant disregard. And that directly led to the pregnancy. It just hammers home the power imbalance, her lack of control.
You can feel her frustration.
Yeah.
The book mentions her throwing a lamp.
Yeah, just lashing out, anger, frustration, grabbing a lamp, throwing it. It's such a visceral reaction to how trapped and violated she feels.
Does anyone notice?
Well, that outburst brings Janice, the resident counselor, to her door. Janice offers to talk,
But can Leandra trust her?
Exactly. Given Damon's father's influence, who can she trust inside that system? It highlights this lack of a safe place for her, which is a huge part of her vulnerability.
Which leads her to think about abortion.
Right. A truly agonizing decision point. She's grappling with it, torn between, her own feelings, her future, what little she has.
And her sister.
And her deep love for Josie. The book even gives a glimpse into her thoughts, like imagining what Josie might think. It just underscores the immense weight of this for her. It's a moment of just intense internal conflict. And it kind of sets the stage for what looks, at first, like maybe a way out, a potential lifeline.
Right. That takes us to chapter 2. She applies for a job.
Yeah, an accounting position at Falcon Securities seems like a real opportunity. But initially, she just gets a standard rejection email from a James Fitz.
Ah, that must have stung. I mean, that job sounded perfect for getting her and Josephine out.
Oh, absolutely. Financial stability, benefits, a real shot at that stable home she needs, independence. It was a potential path out.
But it wasn't the end of the story with Falcon Securities.
No, and this is where it gets unexpected. She gets another email from James Fitz himself.
The same guy who rejected her.
The very same. And he basically says, look, you don't have the formal qualifications for the accounting job, BUT. He's offering her a different position, personal assistant, to him. His reasoning is interesting. He uses words like determination and chutzpah. It says he saw something in her application beyond just the resume.
Determination and chutzpah.
Okay. How does Leandra react?
Well, first disbelief, obviously.
Yeah.
Then just immense relief. Joy, even.
I bet.
Her first thought is Josephine. They actually have this hopeful conversation like maybe, just maybe, they can finally leave the group home. It's a rare moment of optimism for them.
So she goes to meet him, James Fitz.
She does. And her first meeting is quite telling. The book describes her surprise at his appearance.
Huh.
He's not what you might picture.
How so?
Described as physically imposing, a buff nerd, tall, muscular, not your typical accounting firm guy, maybe. And his first comment to her is about her age, much younger than he expected, which, kind of sets a tone, could hint at biases or maybe just power dynamics.
Interesting. So the interview itself, how does she handle it?
She's smart. She highlights her accounting certificate, the night school thing, and she cleverly reframes her group home experience.
How does she do that? She calls herself a house manager, emphasizing managing a large group of kids, highlighting organization, responsibility, handling complex stuff.
Resourceful.
Yeah.
Trying to show transferable skills.
Exactly. Quick thinking. And James Fitz seems to see right through it, calls it spinning.
But he hires her anyway.
Which is surprising. It suggests maybe he appreciates that tenacity, that adaptability, even the spin. Makes you wonder what his motives are, really.
Leandra must have been so relieved.
Oh, palpable relief. Gratitude. And then there's this fleeting mention she feels a flicker of physical attraction to him.
To Fitz.
Yeah.
Even with everything else. Pregnant, he's her boss.
Yeah, it's complex, right? It just adds another layer. Potential future complications, maybe. Underscores the difficult emotional landscape she's in.
Okay, so she has the job. A glimmer of hope. But, Chapter 3 suggests that hope takes a pretty sharp and disturbing turn.
It really does. Things escalate incredibly quickly with Mr. Fitz. It becomes completely inappropriate, unsettling behavior.
What happens first?
The chapter opens. He just asks her to come to his office. Simple request, right?
Yeah.
But her immediate reaction, her instinct, is to run.
Run? From her boss asking her into his office.
Yeah, and that's not a normal response, is it? It speaks volumes about her past trauma, that conditioning from the group home, expecting bad things from authority figures.
So she runs, and he reprimands her.
He does, but then his behavior shifts. It becomes much more disturbing, kind of insidious. He pretends he needs her help with some non-disclosure agreements.
An excuse.
A total pretext. He fakes concern about the font size, of all things, just a way to get her close, invade her personal space.
Oh, I don't like where this is going.
No, it's calculated. A move to establish this pattern of inappropriate closeness. His gaze drifts to her cleavage. The book notes this explicitly.
Even knowing she's pregnant.
Especially knowing that. It's pure objectification. Reducing her to her body, not treating her like a new employee.
Does it stop there?
Not at all. It escalates fast. He follows her around the desk, stands way too close while she's trying to get the file on his computer. The book mentions his body brushing against her back.
Deliberately.
Seems deliberate. Then he basically traps her by the desk, his body pressed right against hers, and she becomes aware, acutely aware, of his physical arousal.
Oh my God, that's just blatant.
Blatant abuse of his position, clear violation of professional boundaries, and then the physical contact becomes overtly sexual.
How so?
His hand goes onto her thigh. He starts pressing circles through her dress, making it right up. It's a deliberate violation.
Jesus.
His finger intrudes between her legs, rubbing against her through her panties, while he's whispering some comment about her dress suiting her, and she can distinctly feel his erection against her back.
This isn't harassment anymore.
It's moved way beyond ambiguity. It's a clear pattern of escalating sexual harassment turning into assaultive behavior, a massive boundary violation.
Then we hit Chapter 4. The title alone, Split Peach, is stark.
It is, and it details a full-blown sexual assault. The narrative perspective shifts here, crucially. We get access to James's internal thoughts as Leandra enters his office.
What's he thinking?
It's explicit. His focus is entirely on her body, his own escalating desire. It's chilling, gives you direct insight into his predatory mindset.
And the assault itself, the book doesn't hold back.
No, it's graphic, deeply disturbing. It recounts him pushing up her dress, touching her intimately through her panties, then forcibly inserting a finger. The narrative notes her involuntary moans and how that just further arouses him. It hammers home the absolute lack of consent, the violation.
And it doesn't stop there.
No. He forces himself on her, has sex with her while she's bent over his desk. The description is brutal, scattered papers, her physical reactions. It underscores the violence of it all. Is he even aware of what he's doing? There's this chilling moment, even during the assault, where he has a fleeting thought about a potential lawsuit.
He knows it's wrong.
It suggests he's aware of the illegality, the wrongness, but it doesn't stop him. It's just this disturbing glimpse into his completely self-serving mind.
What happens after?
His behavior is just as unsettling. He casually wipes himself off and seems genuinely surprised that Leandra appears calm, composed, as she goes to get the reprinted papers he asked for.
How could she be calm? She must be in shock.
Exactly. And the chapter ends with him internally questioning if she consented, a question the events just described make horrifically clear the answer to. It's just dangerous denial, self-deception.
It's hard to imagine it getting worse, but chapter 5 can't get enough.
Yeah, this depicts further exploitation and an almost unimaginably disturbing encounter. Leandra comes back to his office. She's fully aware, obviously, of the physical and emotional trauma she just went through.
And James?
He asks her to close the door and then makes this utterly outrageous, dehumanizing request. He orders her to lie on his table and spread her legs.
He orders her.
Orders her. The book notes she's shocked, but she complies. It just shows the devastating impact of the first assault on her agency, the power dynamic he's brutally established.
So he assaults her again?
Yes. Another graphic, deeply upsetting depiction of him having sex with her on the table. And this continues until there's an interruption.
An interruption.
A knock on the door. It's Philip, the accountant. He has urgent first quarter financial numbers.
In the middle of this.
Yes. And James's reaction is just shocking. He dismisses Philip's urgency, continues the sexual act.
While Philip is standing there.
Philip enters the office. He's forced to witness the ongoing assault. And the book disturbingly notes that Philip himself becomes visibly aroused by seeing this.
Oh no, this is grotesque.
It descends into further depravity. James demands the files from Philip while still assaulting Leandra. Philip, shocked but aroused, hands them over, can't look away. James then intensifies the assault, lifting her legs.
Whoa.
While Philip starts openly masturbating in the office. It's just horrific. Complete objectification, dehumanization of Leandra.
What happens next? It feels like a nightmare.
It reaches this appalling climax. James ejaculates inside Leandra. And then, in just this act of utter contempt and degradation, he tells Philip, go ahead.
Nene.
Implying Philip can also have sex with her, and Philip immediately does.
Now, Leandra.
The book says she's basically in such a state of trauma, she's too fucked out to pay attention. And it ends, this sequence, with James then engaging in anal sex with Philip while Philip is still inside Leandra. And Leandra just had this internal thought, God, what is happening?
Which perfectly captures the utter horror, the incomprehensibility of it all.
I barely know what to say. Chapter 6 starts right after that. How much for your marriage?
Yeah, dealing with the immediate aftermath, James collapses on Leandra as he finishes with Philip. The power dynamics are just grotesque, unbelievably disturbing.
And Philip, the accountant.
His immediate reaction is apology. Shame. Though, given his earlier arousal.
Yeah.
How genuine is that remorse?
Leandra's response. It's chillingly ambiguous. She says to his apology, I didn't say no, and then adds, yes, well, nobody asked me.
Wow. Starkly highlighting the total lack of consent.
Yeah.
Her powerlessness.
Completely. There's this heavy, awkward silence. Philip basically bolts. James just watches him go, sort of bemused.
Amused.
Yeah. And Leandra makes this cynical comment like Philip probably went straight to HR, which is darkly ironic given who James is.
Right. Her word against the bosses.
Yeah.
She knows how that usually goes.
She explicitly acknowledges that grim reality. Then James offers this completely superficial expression of concern for her well-being.
Which must ring completely hollow.
Totally hollow after what he just did. But this leads to a really pivotal moment, a calculated move from Leandra.
What does she do?
She directly asks him for money, a significant amount. She frames it as needing it to move her sister, care for her baby.
Ah, she's realized she has leverage.
Exactly. She recognizes the power she now holds over him because of what he's done, what Philip witnessed.
How does James react to the demand for money?
He's visibly taken aback, shocked, and then Leandra does something very pointed. She looks directly at his wedding ring.
The threat. Nonverbal, but unmistakable. Exposure, blackmail.
Precisely. And James seems to get it. He looks resigned. He agrees to help her and Josephine leave.
Just like that.
Well, he sets terms, says he'll drive them to the airport, buy the tickets before giving her any money, trying to control it still.
But Leandra pushes back.
Oh, yeah. She ups the ante, massively. She demands his entire $5 million bonus check from something called the Remington job.
$5 million. Wow, that's bold. Desperate, maybe.
Incredibly bold. James is just stunned, the narrative says, but Leandra meets his reaction with this steely gaze and asks the ultimate question.
Which is?
How much is your marriage worth to you? And the chapter ends right there. Leon's defeated sigh. It leaves us with this profound sense that the power dynamic has dramatically, violently shifted.
So, wrapping up these initial chapters, where does that leave Leandra?
It's incredibly complex.
Oh.
And precarious, yeah. She's pregnant. She's endured multiple horrific acts of sexual assault and exploitation by her boss. And now, she seems to have positioned herself to gain a huge financial advantage through blackmail, leveraging the secrets she holds.
Okay, so for you, the listener, thinking about this deep dive, there are some really stark, really unsettling takeaways from this fictional story.
Definitely.
We're seeing this extreme portrayal of vulnerability, of exploitation.
Yeah.
It highlights the devastating results of these huge power imbalances. Leandra faces just unimaginable adversity. But somehow, within that darkness, we also see this incredible resilience, strategic thinking, even in the face of horror.
It's true, but it's vital, like we said at the start, to remember this is fiction, but it doesn't shy away from exploring incredibly heavy, very relevant themes. Power, consent, the desperate measures people might feel forced into just to survive.
Yeah, and this narrative, it really leaves us with some profound, kind of disturbing questions to chew on, doesn't it?
It really does. Like, what are the potential consequences of what Leandra's doing now? Will this blackmail actually work? Can she secure a better life for herself and Josie this way?
Or will James, with all his power and money, find a way to retaliate, to silence her?
Exactly. And maybe on a broader level, what does this fictional scenario make us think about power dynamics? You know, in real life, in workplaces and relationships.
And the often really morally gray choices people make when they're pushed to their absolute limits.
Right. It definitely gives us a lot to consider long after this deep dive finishes.
So, first things first, Monica Lerato was my pen name when I was writing erotica, because I wanted to see if I had a white name, I'd sell more books than if I used my own name. Spoiler alert, I did not. So anyway, the books are now available on Ream with my own name. But listening to these AI podcast hosts discussing my book, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this chick was like, for real, she was being assaulted. Because when I was writing, I was just like writing shit, just, oh, okay. Well, how many bad things can I make happen to this chick? But in my head, it was just like porn without plot. Porn with plot. Yeah, it was just porn with plot. I wasn't thinking that I'm literally sexually assaulting this woman. And I think it's because of my own experience with men in general, not just sexual assault. And there's always an aspect of, oh, you never ask anyway. Whatever you do, you don't ask first. There's no, can I kiss you? Can I touch you? Can I... Whatever it is that they're doing to you, there's no, oh, can I ask permission first? Actually, when I read about stories where a woman is asked for permission, or like Sam Winchester, I'm always like, this is not realistic, or those men are unicorns, because I haven't met any of them in my long storied career with men. So I was just like, wow, I have so internalized assault and normalized it in my own head that I never thought of what this poor woman is going through as assault, but it is. And that really elevates this story from just erotica to some sort of women's literature, doesn't it? So for a lot more women's literature, and also, men's literature, I don't discriminate. Go listen to the story and compare it with the analysis and tell me, hey, I felt like you, or yeah, this was some fucked up shit. I would really like to know. Like, let's talk.